Chapter 11 Quitch. As they entered November, the weather turned very cold. The mountain around the school became icy grey and the lake like chilled steel. Every morning the ground was covered in frost. Hagrid could be seen from the upstairs window, defrosting broomstick on the Quitch field. Bundled up in a long moleskin overcoat, a robed fur glove, and enormous beaver-skin boot. The Quidditch season has begun on Saturday. Harry would be playing in his first match after weeks of training, Gryffindor versus Slytherin. If Gryffindor won, they would move up into second place in the house championship. Hardly anyone had seen Harry play because Wood had decided that as their secret weapon, Harry should be kept well secret. The news that he was playing Seeker had leaked out somehow, and Harry didn't know which was worse. People telling him he had be brilliant, or people telling him they had been running around underneath him holding a mattress. He was really lucky that Harry now had Hermione as a friend. He didn't know how he had have gotten through all his homework without her. What with all the last minute Quidditch practice Wood was making them do, she had also taught him Quidditch through the ages, which turned out to be a very interesting read. Harry learned that there were 700 ways of committing a Quidditch foul, and that all of them had happened during a World Cup match in 1473. That Seekers were usually the smallest and fastest players, and that most serious Quidditch accidents seemed to happen to them. That although people rare died playing Quidditch, referees had been known to vanish and turn up months later in the Sahara Desert. Hermione had become a bit more relaxed about breaking rules since Harry and Ron had saved her from the mountain troll, and she had much nicer for it. The day before Harry's first quit match, the three of them were out in the freezing courtyard during break, and she had conjured them up a bright blue fire that could be carried around in a jam jar. They were standing with their backs to it, getting warm when Snape crossed the yard. Harry noticed at once that Snape was limping. Harry, Ron, and Hermione moved closer together to block the fire from view. They were sure it wouldn't be all viewed. Fortunately, something about their guilty faces caught Snape's eye. He limped over. He hadn't seen the fire, but he seemed to be looking for a reason to tell them off anyway. What's that you have gotten near, Potter? It was Quidditch through the ages. Harry showed him. Library books are not to be taken outside the school, said Snape. Give it to me. 5 points from Gryffindor. He just made that rule up. Harry muttered angrily and Snape limped away. Wonder what's wrong with his leg. You know, I hope it's really hurting him, said Ron bitterly. Gryffindor common room was very noisy that evening. Harry, Ron, and Hermione sat together next to window. Hermione was checking Harry and Ron's term homework for them. She would never let them copy. How will you learn? By asking her to read it through, they got the right answer anyway. Harry felt restless. He wanted Quidditch through the ages back, to take his mind off his nerves about tomorrow. Why should be afraid of Snape? Getting up, he told Ron and Hermione he was going to ask Snape if he could have it. Better you than me, said together. But Harry had an idea that Snape wouldn't refuse if there were other teachers listening. He made his way down to staff room and knocked. There was no answer. He knocked again. Nothing. Perhaps Snape had left book in there. It was worth a try. He paused, the door ajar, and peered inside. And a horrible scene met his eyes. Snape and Filch were inside, alone. Snape was holding his robe above knees. One of his legs was bloody and mangled. Filch was handing Snape bandage. Blasted thing. Snape was saying, "How are you supposed to keep your eyes on all three heads at once?" Harry tried to shut the door quickly, but Snape's face was twisted with fury as he dropped his robe quickly to hide his leg. Harry gulped. "I just wonder if I could have my book back." "Get out!" "Out!" Harry left. Before Snap could take any more points from Gryffindor, he sprinted back upstairs. "Did you get it?" Ron asked as Harry joined them. "What's the matter?" In a low whisper, Harry told them what he had seen. "You know what this means?" he finished breathlessly. "He tried to get past that three-headed dog at Halloween. That's where he was going when we saw him. He's after whatever he's guarding, and I had by my broomstick. He let that troll in to make a diversion." Hermione's eyes were wide. "No, he wouldn't," she said. "I know he is not very nice, but he wouldn't try and steal something Dumbledore was keeping safe." "Honestly, Hermione, you think all teachers are sent or something?" snapped Ron. "I'm with Harry. I wouldn't put anything past Snape. But what's he after? What's the dog guarding?" Harry went to bed with his head buzzing with the same question. Neville was snoring loudly, but Harry couldn't sleep. He tried to empty his mind. He needed to sleep. He had to. He had his first quit nap in few hours. But the expression on Snape's face when Harry had seen his leg wasn't easy to forget. The next morning dawned very bright and cold. The great hall was full of the delicious smell of fried sausages and the cheerful chatter of everyone looking forward to a good quiz match. "You have got to eat some breakfast." "I don't want anything, just a bit of toast," wailed Hermione. "I'm not hungry." Harry felt terrible. In an hour's time he had been walking onto the field. "Harry, you need your strength," said Seamus Finning. "Seekers are always that one who get clobbered by the other team." "Thanks, Seamus," said Harry, watching Seamus pile ketchup on his sausage. By 11 o'clock, the whole school seemed to be out in the stand around the Quidditch pitch. Many students had binoculars. The seat might be raised high in the air, but it was still difficult to see what was going on sometimes. Ron and Hermione joined Neville, Seamus, and Dean, the West Ham fan, up in the top row. As a surprise for Harry, they had painted a large banner on one of the seats. Scabbard had run. Said Potter for president, and Dean, who was good at drawing, had done a large Gryffindor's lion underneath. The Hermione had performed a tricky little charm also, that the paint flashed different colors. Meanwhile, in the locker room, Harry and the rest of the team were changing into their scarlet Quidditch robes. Slytherin would be playing in green. Wood cleared his throat for silence. "Women," he said. "And women," said Cheshire Angelina Johnson. "And women," Odd agreed. "This is it. The big one," said Fred Weasley. "One we have all been waiting for," said George. "We know all your speech by heart," Fred told Harry. "We were on the team last year." "Shut up, you two," said Wood. "This is the best team Gryffindor's had in years. We are going to win, I know it." He glared at them all as if to say or else. "Right, it's time. Good luck, all of you." Harry followed Fred and George out of the locker room and, hoping his knees weren't going to give way, walked into the field to loud cheers. Madame Hooch was refereeing. She stood in the middle of the field, waiting for the two teams, her broom in her hand. "Now, I want a nice fair game, all of you," she said, once they were all gathered around her. Harry noticed that she seemed to be speaking particularly to the Slytherin captain. Marcus Flint, a sixth year. Harry thought Flint looked as if he had some troll blood in him. Out of the corner of his eyes, he saw the fluttering banner high above, flashing Potter for president over the crowd. His heart skipped. He felt braver. Mount your broom, please. Harry clambered onto his Nimbus 2000. Madam Hooch gave a loud blast on her silver whistle. 15 broom rose up, high into the air. They're off, and the quaffle is taken immediately by Angelina Johnson of Gryffindor. What an excellent vessel that girl is, and rather attractive too. Jordan, sorry, Professor. The Weasley twins' friends, Lee Jordan was doing the commentary for the match, closely watched by Professor McGonagall, and she is really belting along up there. A neat pass to Alaista Spinnet, a good find of Oliver Woods last year only a reservoir, back to Johnson, and now the Slytherins have taken the quaffle. Slytherin's captain Marcus Flint gained the waffle and off he goes, Flint flying like an eagle up there. He is going to score now. Stopped by an excellent move by Gryffindor Creeper Wood, and the Gryffindors take the quaffle. That's Chaser Catty Bill on Gryffindor there. Nice drive around Flint, off up the field and ouch! That must have hurt. Hit in the back of the head by Bludger. Awful take by the Slytherins. That's rare to see. Ending off towards the goal post, but he is blocked by a season Bludger. Seeing his way by Fred and George, but we can't tell which. Nice play by the Gryffindor beaters. Anyway, and Johnson back in possession of the quaffle. A clear field ahead and off she goes. She's really flying. Dots a speeding puddle. The goal posts are ahead. Come on now, Angelina. Blessley drive. Mrs. Gryffindor scored. Gryffindor cheers filled at the cold air with howls and moans from Slytherin. Was up there. Move along, Hagrid. Ron and Hermione squeezed together to give Hagrid enough space to join them. Been watching from me hut, said Hagrid, patting a large pair of binocular around his neck. But it isn't the same as being in the crowd. No sign of the snitch yet. Yeah. Nope, said Ron. He hasn't had much to do yet. Without trouble, though, that's something, said Hagrid, raising his binocular and peering skyward at the that was Harry. Way up above them, Harry was gliding over the game, squinting about for some sign of the snitch. This was a part of his and Wood's game plan. Out of the way until you catch sight of the snitch. Wood had said we don't want you attacked before you have to be. When Angelina had scored, Harry had done a couple of loops to let off his feelings. Now he was back to staring around for the snitch once he caught sight of a flash of gold. But it was just a reflection from one of the Weasley's wristwatch. And once a bludger decided to come bending his way more like a cannonball than anything. But Harry dogged it and Fred Weasley came chasing after it. Alright there, Harry. He had time to yell, and he beat the bludger furiously towards Marcus Flint, Slytherin in position. Lee Jordan was saying cheers to bludgers, to Weasleys, and Chaser Bell, and speeds towards the vent a moment. Was that a snitch? A murmur ran through the crowd as Adrian Pussy dropped the quaffle too, busy looking over his shoulder at a flash of gold that had passed his left ear. Harry saw it. With a rush of excitement, he dived downward after the stitch of gold. Slytherin speaker Terence Higg had seen it. To neck and neck they hurtled towards the snitch. All the chasers seemed to have forgotten that they were supposed to be doing as they hung in a mid-air to watch. Harry was faster than hits. He could see the little round ball, wings fluttering, darting up ahead. He put on an extra spurt of speed. Boom! A roar of rage and coach from the Gryffindors below. Marcus Flint had blocked Harry on purpose, and Harry's broom spun off course. Harry, holding on for dear life, Paul screamed by Gryffindor. Madam Hooch spoke angrily to Flint and then ordered a free shot at their goal post for Gryffindor. But in all the confusion, of course, the golden snitch had disappeared from sight again. Down in the stand, Dean Thomas was yelling, "Send in off referee red card." "What are you talking about?" Dean said wrong. "Red card," said Dean furiously. "In saucer you get shown the red card and you are out of the game." "But this isn't saucer," Dean, Ron reminded him. Hagrid, however, was on Dean's side. They ought change the rules. Flint pulled knock Harry out of the air. Lee Jordan was finding it difficult not to take side. So, after that obvious and disgusting bit of cheating, Jordan, growled Professor McGonagall. "I mean, after that open and roaring fall, Jordan, I'm warning you." Alright, alright. Flint nearly killed the Greg Fundor sneaker. Could happen to anyone. I'm sure so. Penalty to Gryffindor, taken by Spinner, who puts it away. No trouble. And we continue play. Gryffindor still in possession. It was as Harry dogged another bludger, which went spinning dangerously past his head, that it happened. His broom gave a sudden flighting lurch. For a split second, he thought he was going to fall. He gripped the broom tightly with both his hand and knees. He had never felt anything like that. It happened again. It was as tough. The broom was trying to buck him off. Nimbus 2000 did not suddenly decide to buck their riders off. Harry tried to turn back toward the Gryffindor goal post. He had half a mind to take Wood to call time out, and then he realized that his broom was completely out of his control. He couldn't turn it. He couldn't direct it at all. It was zigzagging through the air, and every now and then making violent swishing movements that almost unseated him. Lee was still commentating. Slytherin in position, Flint with the puffle past Spinach, passes Bell, hit hard in the face by a bludger. Hope it broke his nose, only joking. Professor Slytherin scored a no. The Slytherin were cheering. No one seemed to have noticed that Harry's broom was behaving strangely. It was carrying him slowly higher away from the game, jerking and twitched as it went. "Don't know what Harry thinks he is doing," Hagrid murmured. He started through his binocle. "If I don't know better, I'd say he had lost control of his broom. He can't have." Suddenly people were pointing at Harry all over the stand. His broom had started to roll over and over, with him only just managing to hold on. Then the whole crowd gasped. Harry's broom had given a wild jerk and Harry swung off it. He was now dangling from it, holding on with only one hand. Did something happen to it when Flint blocked him? Simus whispered. "Can't have," Hagrid said, his voice shaking. "Can't nothing interfere with a broomstick except powerful dark magic. No kid could do that to a Nimbus 2000. At this word, Hermione sees Hagrid binoculars, but instead of looking up at Harry, she started looking frantically at crowd. "What are you doing?" moaned Ron Greyface. "I knew it," Hermione gasped. "Snape's look." Ron grabbed the binocular. Snape was in the middle of the stand opposite them. He had his eyes fixed on Harry and was muttering non-stop under his breath. He's doing something. Jinxing the broom, said Hermione. What should we do? Leave it to me. Before Ron could say another word, Hermione had disappeared. Ron turned the binocular back on Harry. His broom was vibrating so hard it was almost impossible for him to hang on much longer. The whole crowd was on its feet, watching terrified as the Wellesley flew up to try and pull Harry safely onto one of their brooms. But it was no good. Every time they got near him, the broom would jump higher still. They dropped lower and circled beneath him, obviously hoping to catch him if he fell. Marcus Flint seized the quaffle and scored 5 times without anyone notice. Come on, Hermione, Ron muttered desperately. Hermione had fought her way across the stand where Snape stood and was now racing along the row behind him. She didn't even stop to say sorry as she knocked Professor Quirrell head first into the row in front, reaching Snape. She crouched down, pulled out her wand, and whispered a few well-chosen words. Bright blue flame shot from her wand onto the hearts of Snape's row. It took perhaps 30 seconds for Snape to realize that he was on fire. A sudden yelp told her she had done her job. Scooping the fire off him into a little jar in her pocket, she scrambled back along the row. Snape would never know what had happened. It was enough. Up in the air, Harry was suddenly able to clamber back to his broom. Neville, you can look, Ron said. Neville had been snobbing into Hagrid's jacket for the last 5 minutes. Harry was speeding towards the ground when the crowd saw him clap his hand to his mouth as tough he was about to be sick. He hit the field on all fours, cough, and something gold fell into his hand. I have got the stitch, he shouted, waving it above his head, and the game ended. It completely confused. He didn't catch it. He nearly swallowed it. Flint was still howling 20 minutes later, but it made no difference. Harry hadn't broken any rules and Lee Jordan was still happily shouting the result. Gryffindor had won by 170 points to 60. Harry heard none of this, though. He was being made a cup of strong tea black in Hagrid's hut with Ron and Hermione. It was Snape. Ron was explaining Hermione and I saw him. He was cursing your broomstick, muttering he wouldn't take his eyes off you. Rubbish, said Hagrid, who hadn't heard a word of what had gone on next to him in the stand. Why would Snape do something like that? Harry, Ron, and Hermione looked at one another, wondering what to tell him. Harry decided on the truth. I found out something about him, he told Hagrid. He tried to get past that three-headed dog on Halloween to beat him. We think he was trying to steal whatever it's guarding. Hagrid dropped the teapot. How do you know about Fluffy? He said. Fluffy? Yeah, he's mine. Bought him off a Greek chappie I met in a pub last year. I lent him to Dumbledore to guard the... Yes, said Harry eagerly. Now don't ask me anymore, said Hagrid gruffly. That's top secret, that's it. But Snape is trying to steal it. Rubbish, said Hagrid again. Snape's a Hogwarts teacher. He had done nothing of the sort. So why did he just try to kill Harry? Cried Hermione. The afternoon event certainly seemed to have changed her mind about Snape. I know a jinx when I see one. Hagrid, I have read all about them. You have got to keep eye contact, and Snape wasn't blinking at all. I saw him. I'm telling you, you are wrong, said Hagrid hotly. I don't know why Harry Broom acted like that, but Snape wouldn't try and kill a student. Now listen to me. All three of you meddling in things that don't concern you. It's dangerous. You forgot that dog and you forgot what it's guarding. That's between Professor Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel. Huh? Said Harry. So there is someone called Nicholas Flamel involved in there. Hagrid looked furious with himself. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. Bye bye. See ya.